Muscatine. I really appreciate you all coming out in the middle of the afternoon to listen to the reasons why I think I should be President of the United States. And you know something? I have them all down on a little card. These are all the reasons that I think you should vote for me to be President of the United States. These are my 12 commitments to the American people. If you count them up, it's more like 14 or 15, but we stuck a couple in twice. And the idea of doing it this way is we want you to know what we believe we can do and what we can accomplish. And if you agree with most of this, then I'd ask you to support it. If you don't agree with most of this, I'd ask you to support somebody else because I'm going to do it. And we're going to actually accomplish this. It says we're going to keep the country on offense against terrorism. We're going to end illegal immigration. We're going to provide access to affordable health care, but American health care, not Cuban health care. We want you to be able to have your own health insurance so that you're able to afford it, you're able to have it, you can make your health care decisions with your doctor, not with some bureaucrat. These are the kinds of things that it's about. And you can go over them and you can ask many questions about them, but there are two big things that sort of are at the core of all 12 of these. The one is the first one that I mentioned, being on offense against Islamic terrorism. I believe that America is safer, more secure, and we get closer to peace for ourselves and the rest of the world if we are militarily very strong. I think one of the big mistakes that we made in the 1990s, when we had the last, or maybe the only Clinton president, I hope. I think one of the big mistakes that President Clinton made as president, one that probably doesn't get the attention that others arguably do, or I think the biggest mistake he made as president of the United States was defunding the American military and American intelligence. And I don't think that most Americans understand how big the cuts were. The military budget, he cut 25%. That's 1/4 of the military done away with. 1/4. In numbers of military, we have been as high as over 700,000 during the Cold War. Went down to below 500,000. I mean, this is major reduction in our ability to defend ourselves. And then the same kind of thing happened with our intelligence services, the people who gather information for us about terrorism or other things that might imperil us. So the next president is going to have to rebuild it. President Bush has rebuilt some of it, but he hasn't rebuilt all of it. America has to be strong. And then the second part of my commitment is that America has to be economically strong. And there's only one way in which America is economically strong. It's when America understands that its wealth and its jobs and the movement out of poverty comes in the private sector. Government doesn't control it. Government doesn't run it around here in the United States. That's the way the European governments are. They have centrally planned economies. And their economies have a lid on them. People can only go so far. High taxes, big government, lots of regulations. All those things put a lid on their economy. Do I need that? A little bit? Good. All those things put a lid on your economy. The following things take the lid off your economy. And people, sky's the limit. Low taxes, less regulation, less government spending, and less suing. Because we sue too much. So these commitments involve, I will lower taxes. And you can trust me that I will, because I have. There's a big debate about whether, when I was mayor of New York, I lowered taxes 15 or 23 times. See, I proposed 64 tax cuts. I signed off ultimately and agreed on 23, of which 15 of the 23 were ones that I proposed. The other ones I took in exchange for other tax cuts. So this is like, but here's the final answer. If you compare me to everybody else running for president, Republican or Democrat, I'm winning either 23-0 or 15-0. So you can pick. You've got a lot of nice people running for president. Some of them in Congress voted for tax cuts. Some voted against them. But as an executive, none of them ever did it. I did. I actually did tax cuts. $9 billion worth. I understand how it works. I understand how important it is. Not only did I cut taxes, I cut the income tax by 24%. Wouldn't you like to have your income tax cut by 24%? You get to put that money. You get to put that money in your pocket. Well, I cut taxes by income tax by 24%. I was collecting 42% more revenues on the lower tax than the higher. The reason for that is because people were spending the money, because people were buying more things. That created more jobs, because businesses were expanding. So we need a president who is going to lower taxes. We need a president that's going to lower corporate tax rates, individual tax rates. We sure as heck need a president who is going to give the death penalty to the death tax. You don't need a death tax. We shouldn't have a death tax. In fact, the way Congress has this organized, it has actually become, in 1 year, an incentive, a tax incentive to die. That's true. In 2009, the inheritance tax will go down from 55 to 45%. In 2010, the inheritance tax will be 0. There will be none. And in 2011, it will be 55%. You see what they just did? You better not be on a respirator in 2010. Going to be a lot of difficult decisions made in 2010 about people on respirators, right? Because if you last into 2011, it's going to cost your family a lot of money. This is just plain stupid, right? If anything illustrates how out of touch Washington is, it's this kind of irrational thing they've done. Because they don't, I guess they don't connect with what goes on in people's lives. So the best thing to do with the death tax, inheritance tax, is to do away with it, because it's an unfair tax. People pay taxes on this money all their life, and then when they die, the government takes away more than half, 55% of it. Just not right. And it harms the economy, because people who have a lot of money try to move that money outside the United States. And we could use that money in the United States. The president of France wants to reduce or eliminate the death tax in France. The president of France wants to lower the corporate tax rates in France. The president of France wants to lower the income tax in France. And we have 3 Democratic candidates for president that want to raise all those taxes. It would be really embarrassing if America was to the left of France. It is going to be really embarrassing. And finally, suing. We sue too much. Oh gosh, yes, right? I mean, every once in a while there's a case that kind of catches the public's imagination, and it illustrates all the things that are wrong with it. The one that I'm going to mention to you is the one about the guy in Washington a couple months ago that lost his pants at his cleaning store. And he sued the cleaning store for $54 million for his pants. Must have been one heck of a pair of pants. As an ex-United States attorney, prosecutor, my whole thought is, what did he have in those pants? I'd have put him in a grand jury to find out what he had in those pants. Because it has to be like a lie to write down and ask for $54 million for your pants. It's like, it's not true. It's false. Well, he sued. Went to court. The people that ran the cleaning store defended themselves, and they won the case.